Her Prayer. Written by Maggie Finally Writes. Read by Arashi. She left the room covered in his blood. Her hands, dress, even her arms were splashed with the dark red. "How is he?" Ingrid asked, her face pale white and green eyes full of worry. "I've done all I can," Mercedes answered with a sad smile. "He's stabilized, but he's in the goddess's hands now. Mercedes, I'm so sorry. If I'd been more careful, Sylvain." "It's all right, Ingrid. This war, people get hurt." The blonde didn't have a response, only able to look down in both shame and guilt. "Do you want me to take watch so you can at least rest?" "No, thank you," Mercedes said, shaking her head. "You look more tired than me, Ingrid. I'll watch over Sylvain, and you go try and sleep, okay?" "Okay. I'll let Annette know to come down in an hour or so, okay?" "Tell Annie it's no rush," Mercedes said softly, forcing that sad smile as Ingrid walked away. Only when the Pegasus Knight was out of sight did her smile begin to falter and tears began to well, Mercedes returning to the room that held the red-headed knight, who was at least sleeping peacefully now. She could remember it so clearly, Sylvain shouting and moving to take an arrow meant for Ingrid's Pegasus, the blood that stained his armor as he continued fighting before going to her, collapsing from blood loss in her arms, as Dedu and Dimitri helped to move Sylvain back to Garreg Mach. So much blood lost. She could close the wound, but no one knew how much blood was lost during that fight. Mercedes moved back to her chair. So much of his blood covered her. Was he going to be okay? Sylvain's face was pale, and he breathed slowly. Mercedes moving a hand to feel his cool forehead. Tears dropped to the bed below, staining the bloody sheets as she tried to brush his hair out of his eyes. If only they would open so she could get lost in those gorgeous brown eyes. She moves to kneeling on the ground, pressing her hands together in prayer. What else could she do? Sylvain's life was in the hands of the goddess. Mercedes had used the best of her healing magic on him to close up the wounds. The rest was out of her hands. All she could do was pray. "Goddess above, I know I ask a lot of you, but please, please bring me my Sylvain back. I still need to tell him everything. I still need to—" How many times had Sylvain complimented her, called her a special lady, and she just batted off of him playing around. She never had the chance to tell Sylvain how much her heart fluttered when he spoke to her like that, how much she loved the fact that he felt comfortable enough around her to be honest, and that she felt the same. "I need to tell him. I love him." "You do?" His voice was barely a whisper, but Mercedes heard it loud and clear, her purple eyes widening as she shifted to stand over the bed, Sylvain's eyes open and him smiling weakly. "Can't believe it only took me being at death's door for you to finally admit that." "Sylvain!" Mercedes held him. She wanted to hug the living daylights out of him, but the healer in her knew to be gentle and careful. "Thank the goddess." "Easy there, Mercedes," Sylvain said with a gentle laugh. I'm just so happy you're okay. I thought you'd—" "I'm right here, Mercedes. Come on, you know I could never leave a special lady like you behind." He held her back, weakly so, but Mercedes didn't care. He was alive, and he knew she loved him. And most importantly, I love you too.